There's a quarterback competition in Knoxville this offseason, so will Josh Heupel take a quarterback to SEC Media Days in 2 weeks? The answer is no, and that's the right call. Locked on Vols.
You are Locked on Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked on Vols. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked on Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. I'm your host here of Locked On Vols. I'm a part of the VolQuest.com team here in town covering the Tennessee Volunteers, and today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Big shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook. Big shout out to you everydayers for making this show what it is. Mailbag questions coming up in segment number 3. Tennessee gets one of the more sought-after starting pitchers in the transfer portal. We'll discuss Landon Mack's commit to the University of Tennessee in segment number 2. And then the topic I want to start off the show here today, SEC Media Days. A couple of you guys have asked me, and I've seen that conversation on some message boards over the General's quarters and of course online on X. And, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but it's something to kind of talk about in the offseason, right? We're now officially in the month of July. What's coming up in the month of July? Well, SEC Media Days. And it feels like it gets closer or earlier and earlier every single year. And, you know, for college football fans, that's awesome. For someone who, you know, covers Tennessee baseball, that's not awesome because there's not a lot of downtime, especially with the transfer portal, the Major League Baseball draft that will actually take place the Sunday and Monday before Tennessee arrives in Atlanta, Georgia on Tuesday, July the 15th to take part in SEC Media Days. That afternoon, it'll be Auburn and Georgia the morning session, Hugh Freeze and Kirby Smart, and then it'll be Josh Heupel and Steve Sarkisian, a little Tennessee or a little orange flavor, if you will, in the afternoon session on Tuesday, July the 15th. So the question is, who's Tennessee going to bring to represent the program to SEC Media Days? Again, this is not end-all be-all. This is not some massive storyline, but again, it's our first introduction, I guess, into the 2025 college football season. Yeah, we're talking, guys like me are talking, fans, you know, we're going back and forth. We're saying, I think Tennessee can win this game and this game and this game, but SEC Media Days truly is the first time players and coaches get in front of a microphone. They talk about their team. They talk about expectations. They answer questions from media like me, and we kind of get the ball rolling. We'll get some bulletin board material. We'll get some storylines, and that'll fuel us kind of until the to the back half of the month of July and towards, you know, fall camp beginning. And, you know, Tennessee's fall camp is going to begin at the end of the month or the 1st of August, starting practice and, of course, getting ready for that August 30th or August 31st, whatever the game against Syracuse is. So who's Tennessee going to take? And it's also strategic in where if you're smart, you want to take players that are obviously you're going to represent your program in the best light. Good kids, you know, smart individuals, good football players. There's kind of a balance right there, right? Like, you don't want to go out there and say anything that's going to put your team on bulletin boards. That still happens every single year, but typically you want to shy away from that. You don't want to create storylines, okay? And so there's a balance there because you need to be taking players who contribute, who are good players, who fans already know about for the most part, but you can't just take anybody. And so typically, if you have a quarterback, then that quarterback is going to represent you and you know, at SEC Media Days. I don't believe, I could be wrong, guys, but again, a lot's happened since this time last year. I don't believe Nico Iamaleava was with Tennessee at SEC Media Days last year. I don't think so. Again, he was just a rising sophomore, so a lot of the time they take older guys as well, you know, veterans and whatnot. Typically, you don't take transfers in that just got to your program, but I believe Vanderbilt did with Diego Pavia, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, I mean, each coach can take whoever they want to, but I don't believe Nico Iamaleava accompanied Tennessee to Dallas last year for the SEC Media Days. I'm trying to remember who it was that went with Tennessee, but nonetheless, you know, he wasn't there. But typically, when you have a returning quarterback or your quarterback is sold and you know exactly who your quarterback plan is going to be, your quarterback represents, you know, is one of those 3 representatives. Because why not? I mean, quarterback, whether you want it or not, that's a leadership position. It's the most important position in all of sports. All eyes are on the quarterback, and so you want your quarterback to be out there. Tennessee, not knowing who its quarterback is right now, 3-way battle between Jake Merklinger, the incoming transfer, and Joey Aguilar, and of course the rising true freshman in George McIntyre. Tennessee's not going to take a quarterback to SEC Media Days, because if you take one, then you're declaring that guy to be the guy. And so Josh Heupel simply is not going to do that. He didn't do that in 2021. He didn't do that. He probably took Hendon in 2022. I can't really remember that. But nonetheless, there's not going to be a quarterback that's going to be going with Tennessee to SEC Media Days. So that begs the question, who's it going to be? So many of your veteran leaders are no longer on this team. Cooper Mays, who was there in Dallas last year wearing the cowboy hat, he's no longer on this team. Amari Thomas, who I'm sure was there and are representing Tennessee because he does such a great job in that aspect, no longer on your football team. Will Brooks, not on your football team anymore. Keenan Peely, who I believe was the third one. Yeah, I think it was Keenan Peely, Amari Thomas, and Cooper Mays. Keenan Peely is not on your football team anymore. Brew McCoy is not on your football team anymore. Dylan Sampson is not on your football team anymore. I've got two easy ones that I think Tennessee's going to go out there. Again, we kind of spoke on this. It might have been a mailbag question at one point in time the last couple of weeks. Might have been last week, actually. I think Tennessee will take Miles Kitselman, and I think Tennessee will take Arion Carter. Why? Well, because when the whole Nico Iamaleava situation unfolded on the morning or the days leading up to the day, and that morning leading up to the orange and white game at Neyland Stadium for the conclusion of spring practice a couple months ago, Tennessee brought out some players who shone in the orange and white game, and that was great. But also, they brought out Miles Kitselman and Arion Carter, both guys who were dealing with some injuries and who did not take part in the orange and white game. But they brought them out there to talk to us media, essentially, focus. We're a team. The team's nobody's bigger than the power T, like Josh Heupel said. And I thought that was a really good move by Tennessee's athletic communications department to bring out those two guys so we could get some quotes, so we can get some storylines on, hey, show goes on, right? And we got some leadership in place, and we're going to find a quarterback and so on and so forth. So the reason I think they're going to take those two guys for sure is because they put those two guys out there in front of the media to answer hard questions about a situation that they're put in right now that was to no fault of their own, and their quarterback leaving your program on the final day of spring practice. So I think it's going to be tight end Miles Kitselman. I think it's going to be linebacker Arion Carter. Who's the third, though? Who would be the third representative for Tennessee football? Oftentimes, you don't want to take a guy that's dealing with an injury, and Miles Kitselman is dealing with an injury. All right, I mean he's doing well and on course to be back on the field for sure. But typically, you don't want to take a player that's dealing with an injury. So immediately, I thought of Jamal McCoy, All-American cornerback, one of the best defensive backs in all the country. But he is coming off an ACL tear, and we don't know if and when, or we know he will play, but we don't know exactly when, or if he's cleared, how much he'll go the first little bit. Is he going to be playing 60 snaps, game one against Syracuse? No, I very much doubt that. But because Jamal McCoy is injured right now, or coming back from injury, I don't know if he would be one that Tennessee would elect to take to SEC Media Days. Because, I think that makes sense to me for sure. There's some other really good defensive candidates. I think Joshua Joseph would be a good one, of course. There was a time, it was before, I think it was not this past spring practice, but the spring practice in 2024, where he had a bunch of headlines and he had a bunch of sound bites and all that. But he's talking with us since then, and of course, I think he's gotten coached up not to create storylines. I think Joshua Joseph would be a good one. I think Bryson Eason would be a great candidate to represent Tennessee. I think Jeremiah Thielander would be a great representative of Tennessee. But if you're taking Arion Carter, I don't know if you'll take another guy in the same position. I think Andre Turrentine, even though he kind of created a little bit of a storyline with a comment ahead of the Ohio State game, I think he'd be a good representative. Flip over to the offensive side. You're not taking a quarterback. Running backs are brand new. You've already taken Miles Kitselman. You're not going to take a wide receiver. There's not many options on the offensive side of the football. There's really not many options at all on the offensive side of the football. Ethan Davis would be a good one, but he hasn't played an awful lot. Plus, if you're taking Miles Kitselman, then you're not going to take another tight end. I really don't think you're going to take a wide receiver because they're all new. Again, you're not taking a quarterback. I think Deshaun Bishop would be a great representative. Maybe Deshaun Bishop is a guy that you contemplate and discuss taking because I think he's very well-spoken and I think that he's smart. He's a Tennessee guy, of course, from Carnes High School. He's going to play a massive role in the offense this year. So maybe Deshaun Bishop is a guy that you take. But this is kind of interesting. Who would be that third? Again, I'm working on the assumption that Miles Kitselman and Arion Carter would be one, or even if that's not my assumption, that's my pick number one and number two. The third one's kind of tricky. Who is going to represent Tennessee at SEC Media Days here in just 2 weeks? That's the question. I think it will not be a quarterback, but certainly that third guy. Maybe Deshaun Bishop. Maybe I'm talking myself into Deshaun Bishop here this morning. I think that would work out pretty well. Tennessee again sharing the day in Atlanta at SEC Media Days on Tuesday, July the 15th with Auburn and Georgia, and then Texas in the afternoon. Monday gets the ball rolling with LSU and Ole Miss in the morning, South Carolina and Vanderbilt in the afternoon session. We skip to Wednesday, Alabama and Florida in the morning, Mississippi State and Oklahoma in the afternoon, and then Thursday, which was often a forgotten day, right before the expansion to 16 teams in the league when it was 14. You had 3 teams on Monday. You had 3 teams on Thursday, getaway day, and that last team on the Thursday afternoon slate, there was hardly any media there left to even talk to the guys. But with 16 teams, it's a full day, 4 teams. It'll be Arkansas and Kentucky in the morning, Missouri and Texas A&M in the afternoon. So we're almost there, guys. Just a couple weeks away from SEC Media Days, the unofficial kickoff to the 2025 college football season. I'm excited. I know you're excited. Who will represent Tennessee at SEC Media Days? Would love to hear from you at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. When we come back, Tennessee baseball, another big-time commit via the transfer portal. We'll tell you all about Landon Mack when we return right here on your Tuesday Locked On Vols. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburn over on at the beach this summer. But I love FanDuel Sportsbook because, again, there's Major League Baseball you can bet on every single day. Again, golf on the weekends, NASCAR as well. NASCAR is so much fun. There's so many different games in there you can play. But more than anything, I like putting some coin in my pocket. But when I'm watching sports, because I'm going to be watching sports every single night anyway, right? Probably like you. I want to make it even more exciting and thrilling for me. So if I'm already watching it, I'm already kind of doing the work, why not put a little bit of coin on it, right? And you can do that over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I'm going to read that one more time. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel Sportsbook app today or visit FanDuel.com to go ahead and get started. FanDuel is where you can make every moment more. Tennessee baseball continues to win in the transfer portal. It was early Tuesday or Monday morning when Landon Mack, former pitcher of Rutgers, a starting pitcher, made his announcement on social media that he was announcing his commitment, his transfer to the University of Tennessee. Nationally, there was a couple of people that actually broke that news or leaked that news late on a Sunday night, but it was Landon Mack that went ahead and did it himself Monday morning about 8:30. I covered Tennessee baseball, had the story written for had the story written for weeks, and kind of edited and got everything together. When I knew it was happening on Sunday or prior to it on Sunday. Didn't happen Sunday night for him. Waiting for the kid to announce it, and Monday morning I'm feeding the baby a bottle, and have my phone down for 30 minutes and pick up my phone, and commitment happened about 22 minutes prior to that. So that's always exciting, the day in the life of a guy that covers a team on a daily basis. So that's always fun. But nonetheless, everybody knew it was coming because of everything that kind of leaked out the night before. This is a big get for Tennessee. Landon Mack was one of the more sought-after starting pitching options in the transfer portal. Tennessee beat LSU for this one. Tennessee has lost specifically some pitching battles in the transfer portal the past couple of seasons. They won this one, right? Luke Holman comes to mind. The number 2 pitcher for LSU this year, I'm blanking on his name. He comes to mind. I think Tennessee had some interest there. Skeens a couple years ago, right? That's a different situation a little bit. But, Tennessee had come up short to LSU a couple of times in the last couple of cycles in regards to pitching in the transfer portal. Tennessee wins this one, right? But, it wasn't just LSU in that battle. Arkansas was in that battle. Some ACC schools, when Clemson was involved. I think Florida State was involved. Pretty much anybody that had a need for pitching was trying to go after Landon Mack, but only so many can actually get in the fight for that, and certainly some of the powers from the SEC and the ACC were in it. But Tennessee wins it, and so what is Tennessee getting in Landon Mack? Well, a true freshman starter for Rutgers last year. He started games on Saturday and then started games on Friday nights. Started 15 games, 6-5 was the record, a 4.03 ERA. 80 innings and a third, struck out 70, walked only 19. Opponents had a 266 batting average against him. He allowed 20 extra base hits, 36 earned runs. He received a USA Baseball Collegiate National Team camp invitation. He made the team, and he actually pitched for the Stars team on Sunday night. 2 innings in relief, 3 strikeouts, 1 hit, no hits, no runs allowed. Did a really, really good job. He received Big Ten freshman team honors, and he was named a second-team freshman All-American by Baseball America following his rookie campaign. The big get here, one of the big storylines here with the Mack edition is he's not draft eligible, okay, because he's only a freshman, and he's not a sophomore draft eligible guy next year. He's got to be in college baseball for 2 more years. So if he stays at Tennessee is getting potentially a top-of-the-line weekend starter for the next 2 years. That's really, really good. That is fantastic. Coming out of high school, Perfect Game rated him as the number 392 prospect overall, 122 ranked right-handed pitcher, 122nd ranked right-handed pitcher. He's from Columbus, New Jersey. Number 7 prospect in the state, number 3 at his position, which is right-handed pitcher. He was named Big Ten Pitcher of the Week and Freshman of the Week after firing 7 scoreless frames on the road at number 9 Oregon this past season, where he allowed just 2 hits, 4 strikeouts. That was back in late March. And he tossed 8 innings of 2-run baseball against Minnesota on April 18th. Also pitched 7 innings at Purdue on April the 11th. Tallied a career-high 103 pitches in outings against both Minnesota and Penn State. So a couple of his game highlights from the season. And again, this is a true freshman. We know how difficult it is for a true freshman to pitch in college baseball. I know this in the SEC, but Big Ten's got some pretty good competition as well with a couple of those teams. So Tony Vitello, knowing you're losing Liam Doyle, which, by the way, Baseball America put out their mock draft 5.0 the other day, had Liam Doyle going number 2 overall to the LA Angels. Man, that's the number 2. I mean, that's getting it up there. But nonetheless, well, I forgot what I was trying to say here. You've got Landon Mack that you're losing Liam Doyle. Here we go. You're losing Marcus Phillips. You're losing, obviously, some bullpen help in A.J. Russell and Brandon Arvinson, who's likely a draft pick, Tanner Franklin, who will be a draft pick, Nate Snead, who will be a draft pick. You're losing a lot of pitching, and you're losing 2/3 of your weekend rotation. So you needed pitching, but you needed starting options, and Landon Mack is absolutely going to be starting baseball games if healthy for Tennessee next year, along with Tegan Coons, and we'll see what else. So this was a big-time get, another big-time get for the University of Tennessee for Tony Vitello, who I wrote a story about this. I actually wrote the story Sunday night in preparation for him announcing his commitment, so I could roll it right after that, and I did that. Tony Vitello and his staff just continued to check all the boxes, right? Tennessee needed pitching. Check. Tennessee's gone after and signed 6 pitchers so far, 9 total commits, and I think 7 of them can pitch, a couple two-way guys in there. Tennessee needed versatility. Tennessee's getting versatility in a number of these guys. A couple two-way players that I mentioned, guys like Henry Ford that can play first base outfield, guys like Garrett Wright who can catch and play outfield. You needed versatility because rosters are shrinking down to 34-man rosters. So there's going to be an emphasis on two-way players, but more than anything, just versatility. And there's already versatility, right? Ariel Antigua can play all over the infield. Manny Marin can play all over the infield. Levi Clark can play first. He's a catcher, can play outfield. I mean, there's already been versatility there, don't get me wrong, right? But, I mean, now with 34-man rosters, I mean, you're not just taking a first baseman. You got to take a first baseman who can also play outfield. You're not just taking a catcher's a little bit different, but you'd love a catcher that can play first base as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? So Tennessee's done such a great job in this portal attacking versatility options, check. Pitching options, check. And then don't forget, man, I mean, Tennessee and Tony Vitello going to go after the best of the best. So, I mean, there's a lot of under-the-radar guys that I think can blossom into big-time players here at Tennessee. I think Garrett Wright's one of those guys. I think some of these pitchers, I think Brady Frederick of ETSU, who graduated from Beer in high school. I think he's going to be great here at Tennessee. I'm intrigued to see about Bo Rudy. Clay Edmondson, if you survive the draft there, I think he can be a nice piece of the Tennessee bullpen. DJ Newman wasn't really under the radar because he was one of the top two-way players available, but him, I'm intrigued to see about Blaine Brown and what he can bring to the mound. Tennessee's been on some guys that aren't super highly rated, but also Landon Mack was there. You found a way to get him. You closed that deal. Check. Henry Ford was considered the number 1 overall player in the transfer portal per on 3. Check. You got to survive the draft there. I recognize that. but check. So Tennessee's not only finding, I don't even want to say diamonds in the rough because these guys were good, but finding underrated players in the transfer portal and trying to take them and turn them into what they believe they can be. And again, I shouldn't even say that because a lot of these guys I mentioned at LSU, Arkansas, Tech, I mean, they're all in on these guys, right? I mean, if you're a power player in college baseball, you're going after the same type of guys. But Tennessee was also in on the elite of the elites in the transfer portal, and Tennessee won its fair share of battles. Henry Ford, Landon Mack come to mind. So, again, we'll see if Tennessee's got 9 additions to the transfer portal right now. I mean, the heavy lifting's done. I'm not going to say they're completely done. The numbers game is a little tricky because, the Major League Baseball draft, and again, you're trying to get down to 34. So I think Tennessee would love a left-handed pitcher. I think Tennessee would love an infielder. I don't know. We'll see if Tennessee adds another or 2 to this class, but the heavy lifting's over. You have 9 additions, and this class is turning into a really, really good one for Tony Vitello as Rutgers transfer starting pitcher, right-handed pitcher Landon Mack, committed to the University of Tennessee on Monday morning, adding just another great player to this transfer portal haul for Tennessee's Tony Vitello, who continues to check all the boxes in the transfer portal. All right. Who were the top 10 quarterbacks for Tennessee football for the past 25 years? That's one of the many great mailbag questions we're going to discuss in segment number 3. I mean, I had to list these guys out, and it's tough when you get to like 7, 8, 9. I'm not going to lie. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. We do it every single Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols. We call it the mailbag edition of the show where you everydayers can send in some questions, and got a couple of good ones here that I spent some time doing some research on. How about that? And we'll start with Bruce, my guy Bruce. As always, man, I appreciate you sending in questions. He says, in the last 25 years, who were the top 10 or so quarterbacks at Tennessee? So I just did the century, right, the 2000s. So I went back to 2000 season and on. And anybody listening, and Bruce, I know you know this as well, we're talking about the top 10 quarterbacks. Like, I mean, I rank them, but we're splitting hairs here towards the end because there's a couple really good quarterbacks. And then there's some bad quarterback play during this stretch for sure. So if we're trying to get 10 out of a 25-year stretch here, it's kind of tough. But I did the best I could and love to hear if you guys disagree with any of this. So again, I go back to the season 2000 and I've worked my way up. So number 1, it's easy. If I'm going back that far, I'm going to the Iceman himself. That is Casey Clausen. Casey Clausen started 7 games as a freshman at Tennessee in 2000. Of course, he started 13 games at Tennessee in 2001. He started 11 games for Tennessee in 2002 as a junior, and then he started 13 games as a senior in 2003. Casey Clausen's overall record at Tennessee, 34-10. The last Tennessee quarterback to win on the road at Florida, the Iceman himself, Casey Clausen. So for me, that was easy, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go Hendon Hooker. I understand Josh Dobbs, and I'll get to him in a moment, but Hendon Hooker was the quarterback on one of the better teams Tennessee football's had, since the national championship team, since the SEC championship team, or the team that played in the SEC championship in 07 and 01. That 01 team, won the Citrus Bowl. That 07 team, of course, went to the SEC championship game and all that. But I mean, Hendon Hooker was the quarterback for a team that went 10-2 in the regular season, and I know that he didn't finish the season because he tore his ACL. But a team that went on to win the Orange Bowl. So Hendon Hooker and his 14-6 overall record as the starting quarterback at Tennessee comes in at number 2 on my rankings. Joshua Dobbs comes in at number 3. Not a whole lot of wins that you wish you had more wins during that stretch, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Still some very successful seasons his last 2 years, but didn't end the way you wanted them to. He was a 23-12 overall record as the starting quarterback at Tennessee. Man, I continue to go back to 2016. How in the world Tennessee didn't play for an SEC title? How in the world Tennessee didn't go to a Sugar Bowl that year? I mean, it's ridiculous to me. I'm not blaming Josh Dobbs. I'm just saying that team, that season should have ended so much better. But Joshua Dobbs comes in at number 3 for me with an overall record of 23-12 as the starting quarterback at Tennessee. And again, we start nitpicking here, honestly, because those are the top 3. Easy for me. Number 4, I'll go Tyler Bray. I understand there wasn't a lot of wins during that stretch, but the stats that he accumulated, the stats that he put up from an athletic ability, throwing the football and all that, Tyler Brady was really, really good. I have him there number 4. I have Eric Ainge at number 5. Eric Ainge broke a lot of records his senior season at Tennessee. Four-year starter, parts of a 4-year starter. He dealt with some injuries for sure. 27-10 was the overall record. I think Eric threw 35 touchdowns his senior year, and back then, that's a lot nowadays, don't get me wrong, but back then that was really, really good. So Eric Ainge comes in there at number 5. At number 6, I'll go Nico Iamaleava, and I recognize Nico, his 1 year as the starting quarterback at Tennessee, the whole year, right? I know that he won the Citrus Bowl as the starting quarterback the year before. Like, did he live up to the hype and to the NIL, dollar amount and all that? No, in 1 year he did not, but he was still the quarterback of a team that went 10-3 overall in the season and got to the college football playoff. I mean, like, what more do you want, right? I mean, that's, that he was the starting quarterback of a team that went to the college football playoff. So, again, when you're looking at some of the best teams in recent history, Nico Iamaleava was the starting quarterback in that. And who's to know how good he could have been if he stayed here at Tennessee for this year? I don't know. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. I do not think that he's going to have nearly as much chance of success at UCLA that he could have had here. But when you go back and look at the great seasons, the last 25 years in Tennessee history, Nico is certainly up there. Number 7 is Joe Milton. Again, we're getting to the end here. Joe Milton was an 8-4 quarterback for Tennessee, his 1 year starting quarterback. 11-5 overall in games that he started here at Tennessee. The year that he started, Tennessee went on to win the Citrus Bowl. He did not play in that game. I recognize that. Just kind of is what it is. Number 8, Jonathan Crompton. 10-10, the overall record at Tennessee as a starting quarterback. He had a really good senior season with Lane Kiffin. Number 9, Rick Clausen. Rick Clausen had a 4-6 record as the starting quarterback at Tennessee. He was the Cotton Bowl offensive MVP. He helped save Tennessee in a number of games throughout his tenure. He was here for 2 years. And then, again, that's 9. I don't have a 10th. And, honestly, again, we're splitting hairs, really 6 through 10. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. JG, he played a ton, obviously. A lot of some moments there. Justin Worley's not going to be on this. Nathan Peterman's not going to be on this. Matt Sims is not going to be on this. Nick Stevens is not going to be on this. If we're splitting hairs here, Brent Schaefer had a 3-0 record as a starting quarterback at Tennessee before he left the program. There's just not a whole lot there. So, 9, I could kind of list. After that, I don't know, man. It kind of got tough. Bruce, as always, man, that was a fun exercise. Really kind of took this entire segment. I'm going to speed through some of these other questions to get those answered. But, Bruce, I appreciate you, man. Let's go to my guy, Roba22. Wanted to know if there is a list of Tennessee baseball players playing summer ball. I made that a couple weeks ago, and I meant to pull that up before I got to this segment. And I'll pull that up right now. Here we go. Cape Cod League, Tegan Coons. I know there's been a couple of players who have left via the transfer portal since I made this, but in the Cape Cod League, there are 8 players. Tegan Coons is in the Cape Cod League. Braden Krenzel, Manny Marin, Chris Newstrom, Levi Clark, Bo Rudy, who's a portal commit, Garrett Wright, who's a portal commit, Henry Ford, who's a portal commit. All those guys are playing in the Cape. In the California Collegiate League, Nick Abraham is pitching in that league. Hunter High is playing in the New England Collegiate League. In the Appalachian League, Aiden Hayes, who entered the transfer portal, he's playing for Kingsport. Dane Morrow, who entered the transfer portal, he's playing for Johnson City. Brooks Wright, who entered the transfer portal, he's playing for Bristol. Jackson Walker's playing for Bristol. Tyler Myatt, JUCO transfer, is playing for Kingsport, but he will be playing in the Cape in a couple of weeks. So he started in Kingsport. He's still playing there at the time of this recording, but he will be playing in the Cape coming up. And also Ariel Antigua, who had an Appalachian League record 6 hits over the weekend in 1 game, is playing for Burlington. Northwood League, Tate Strickland, who entered the transfer portal, he's playing for Green Bay. And the Prospect League, Brendan Siegler is playing for the Jonestown Mill Rats. So that's, I'm sure there's some more, but that's kind of the list that I have right now. Roba, I appreciate you as always. Jared, I know you had a couple of questions here, but I'm going to focus on your last question just for time's sake. Apologies there. Who is my favorite broadcasting team to listen to for non-UT games? I'm a big CBS Sports broadcasting teams, not the headliners, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, they're fine. I love the number 2 team, Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. Obviously, I think they're fantastic. I love Kevin Harlan. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green, that's the number 3 broadcast team. I think Kevin Harlan is the best radio voice play-by-play announcer. He's my favorite. Love that. So I'm big on some of the CBS Sports crews. I think the top 3 are really good. I like the crews 2 and 3 specifically. Kevin Harlan, his ability to do TV and radio. Radio, he was like kind of the key voice of Westwood One. A big-time Kevin Harlan fan. Hope that answers that. All right, got a couple more here. Let's go to Trevor. Trevor wants to know, I've been caught up in NBA playoffs. Brutal ending for my Pacers. Yeah, for sure. Could you do a quick recap of the spring to this point, excluding the Nico saga? Yeah, I can do a quick little recap of the spring so far, and this will be the last one I answer. In a nutshell, pretty much Tennessee brought in, some transfer portals, not an awful lot. I'm sure you know about Amari Jefferson, Sam Pendleton, and Wendell Moy, Star Thomas. Those were the 4 in the first window. The second window, Tennessee, of course, brought in Joey Aguilar. Tennessee brought in Josh Shell. And then Tennessee brought in Colton Hood, who I think Colton Hood is going to play a big-time role for Tennessee in the defensive backfield for not only this year, but in years to come. Versatile piece, depth piece this year, who is going to play, don't get me wrong, especially with Jamal McCoy at the very beginning, cornerback, but I think Colton Hood is a big-time addition. So those are the portal additions. Jamal McCoy tore his ACL in December. He's working himself back there. Miles Kitselman tore his pec early in the offseason. He's working himself back there. And then the other storyline I would say this spring that I've been paying attention to really is just the additions to the support staff. Well, there was one note of the on-the-field staff. That was Mike Eckler leaving for Nebraska. So Coach Chop gets the promotion up. He's coaching defensive line with Rodney Garner, the outside linebacker, the Leo position. But Tennessee's additions to the off-the-field staff, I think, have been fantastic this offseason. John Bonamego, he's going to assist Evan Crabtree, who got the promotion to be the special teams coordinator. But Evan Crabtree is going to be the special teams coordinator. But John Bonamego, tons of experience in the NFL and in college. Great mind, great resource. Marion Hobby coming to help Chop and Rodney Garner on the defensive line. I mean, that's a slam dunk of a hire. Seth Luttrell, who's going to help Josh Heupel oversee some things offensively with Joey Halsley as well. Allen Williams, who's going to help Tim Banks and Willie Martinez in the secondary. Landry Jones, who's going to help the quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking about guys who have years and years and years and years, decades of not just college, but NFL experience as well. I think Tennessee knocked it out of the park this offseason in some of the additions to the support staff. So outside of that, spring was all right. You had Nico saga. There was that. Bring in Joey Aguilar. The whole topic of conversation from now until kickoff, and has been the conversation since Nico left, is who will be the starting quarterback for the University of Tennessee. Will it be incoming transfer Joey Aguilar? Will it be rising redshirt freshman Jake Merklinger, or rising true freshman George McIntyre? We will continue to discuss that and find out the answer to that in fall camp. We'll talk about it right here. Thank you as always for sending in your questions, your comments, your concerns @_Cainer, @LockedOnVols, mailbag podcast. We do it every single Tuesday right here on the show. Appreciate you guys for making this your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. Really, really do appreciate you guys. As always, got a fun segment we're going to be debuting. I tweeted about it yesterday, but a fun segment we're going to be debuting on Thursday. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. A big week coming up right here on Locked On Vols. We'll catch you tomorrow, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.